Hey there, guys. In this video, we're going to be doing some updated unit tier list placement based on the previous tier list that I did. And in this video, joining me to discuss it is Pika and MostlySean. So you guys can say hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. This is a little bit of pre-run up to anniversary.
Indeed, anniversary is coming out in 2 days, and we just decided that people were going to be doing 700 plus polls during anniversary. Some newer players might be getting units they've never heard of. And we'll just give you our brief initial thoughts on the units. So, just some usual disclaimer stuff. This is all our opinions, may or may not be right. And the units we're going to be discussing in this video are only the units that have come out since the previous video, or that have been updated since then, like with crowns or something. So, it would take too long to rank every single Neo in the same vision every time, or it's in the same video every time. So this is just the newer units since the last video around February or so. And I'll have links in the comments and descriptions below where you can find the older videos if you're looking for a specific unit to see our thoughts. Although keep in mind, older videos may not be as up to date as the current video. Anyway, so for this, let's see here. We're going to just start right at the top.
Before we start, let's just make a few things clear if you haven't seen one of these videos before. So the tier breakdown is basically S tier is going to be the best of the best current meta units that have no real downsides. They function well for what they do. And it's not just damage dealers, obviously. We're not rating the top of the pack damage dealers. If a unit brings excellent support, or is an amazing tank, will be, rated accordingly to what they do. A tier units are for units that are kind of within the meta, but they have something that either holds them back or their numbers are just lower than a unit in S tier that has a comparable function. B tier is where we start hitting niche units. They can be strong in the meta, but maybe the meta doesn't also support them. Like Warrior of Light Bartz is a fine, doesn't really have anything wrong with him, but he's just wind meta is not a thing right now. C tier is where we're going to start hitting units that are just undertuned, clunky, or generally unsupported in the meta. And D tier is just, you're not going to use these units unless you have no other options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One
Breakdown. Go ahead.
one other note that I should point out: when I made this chart, I accidentally added Red-Eyed Soul and his Brave Shift form as separate units. So we should gloss over the bubble later.
Okay. All right. So, actually, let me. Actually, hold on. Give me 1 second. Interruption in the video. I forgot that I turned on beeping notifications, and I will be getting a lot of those. Okay, turned it off. There we go. Fixed. Okay, so the first unit is Knight of Grandchild with his crowns and his Amplify quest completed. So, where do you guys think Knights of Grandchild should land as a soft-locked holy damage dealer?
So before anniversary, I would say that he is in S tier, but with Alina and Licht, or however you want to pronounce it, coming out, I feel like he's going to drop to A tier.
You think A tier? I would, because his damage is good, but it's not like the best, even among just light damage dealers. But
I think I'd probably place him somewhere in B, personally, because he's he's pretty decent now, but then I feel with the same amount of investment on a different unit, he could get a better mileage.
Yeah.
So I'm basing it on the recent Vision World, where I saw a lot of Knights of Grandchild competing with EX2 Squall and EX3 2B for damage dealt on the final stage. He performs comparably, and he's got a 200% Omni Killer, gears super easy, shares the Greatsword in Peril with Squall. If you've got a light team, he's there. Like he's right up there. So like he's
That-
definitely not S tier, but maybe like you guys are saying B tier, but I feel like A is where he's at, and that's gonna change with Licht coming out or Richt. God, that's a weird name.
Yes, it sounds so weird.
Every single
I
time I go to say Richt, in my head I'm saying Richter, and like I have to catch myself to not accidentally say Richter. I don't know why. It's just caught in my head.
I don't know why, but they're using all these German words for like German style names for like all the warriors of the crystals or whatever. So like I mean, that's outside of Yoshikiri, obviously, but Vilk is also heavily German. I think Elena might also be.
mean, Helena sounds vaguely German.
Yeah,
It sounds vaguely European,
yeah.
So does Louise. Although Louise
It's a
sounds more
weird
Irish.
trend that they're going with, and I want to see if it continues to next year. Anyways,
Yes. So the A tier seems fine because it is true that if you're doing a light team, he's very likely going to make the cut, and his damage is fine, gears easily, etc. So yeah, that seems good. How about Laguna with his crowns? They give him an 89 break, I think 145 in peril to 4 different elements, maybe by memory, and and 160 to water. So
Yeah, the water was.
yeah, so he's really good. As a breaker, the issue is like, the primary reason you'd take him over like Lion or something would be because of the water in peril. And water is just not where it's at right now. We know going forward it's not going to be coming anytime soon. So unless Global does severe meta shift, like water is still just totally dead. So
It's been dead so long.
Now he does have the 145 to I think light, fire, and ice by memory. So that's certainly usable. His own damage is nothing great. But where would you guys say? Like B, I guess, because 89 breaks are still decent.
I would throw him in B.
Yeah, I would throw him in B. If just for the fact that if your best breaker, I mean, if you only have Laguna as a breaker, he's completely competent just because of his 89 breakers.
Yeah, and like I said, this is really the niche tier where it's like they have a strong niche, but are having difficulty fitting within the meta. So I think that absolutely describes Laguna.
Also, to point out, he does have double Mirage AoE on demand, so useful for a few Dark Vision stages. Then Renault, who does okay-ish dark damage, crown, has the field. She technically has tag chaining, and you're not really going to use that. She's kind of awkward to do her best damage with the capping. She can do things like Darka or Tornado for slightly less damage, but easier to chain. Where do you guys think she should fit?
I only used her for a crown fight. That's it. She disappeared.
So I'm going to say that she does actually have a weird niche, and that's in a dark magic team supported by Ibarra. Because she's one of the few dark magic units that isn't a finisher. Like, we'll see later that most of the dark magic units in this that are relevant are all one-hit finishers. And so she can provide, either quad bolting strike or quad...
Chaos Awaken.
Yeah. So it provides 2 families, and damage is not mind-blowing. She's got like weird setup and everything. It's a bit of a pain to use her, but if you need someone, you could certainly do worse.
So B tier, you think?
B.
I think she's clunky though. Like she's.
But
yeah, she's.
Yeah. The thing with her, if you're dealing her best damage, the Apocalypse, that is very, very hard to properly chain or cap, I should say. Okay, B seems fine. Dark Rain with his crowns again. Basically, he's like the dark magic version of Light's Grandchild. So, where should he go?
Probably
go ahead.
I'd say probably the same tier as Cog, just for the same reasons. But the choices for Dark are, I think, even slimmer, right?
I would say Dark actually has one of the biggest selections of viable units.
Dark's quite well supported at this point as far as magic.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because like the last Dark fight I took,
Look, just because you don't have the units doesn't mean they don't exist.
I mean, that's true, but I was trying to think because I think the issue last time I tried was because I was trying to mix physical and magical, which made it a little bit more clunky.
I'm guessing you didn't have the upcoming units, Reagan or Saul.
No.
Yeah, those two units really address that problem. Unfortunately, I think they came after the Vision World, or like right at the same time. Okay.
So
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right, so we have Avalanche Tifa, another old DPS that was crowned and made relevant. Lots of things were fixed with her. They fixed her terrible frames, made her a proper capper. They got the true dual wield cap, high stats. On global, she's even better. Big issue with her is she is water, and as we know, water is just dead.
Water does not exist in this game.
Right. There's a very easy answer for this. D tier.
D tier? I wouldn't say D tier.
Yeah. Look, man. Just look at the sprite. It's definitely D.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna say C tier because she does do very respectable damage. It's just a bad element, but like you could mix her onto a team with like a Zack leader or something, and while she, would have she'd been missed the Dark Visions party, she could still hit pretty hard. I'll say C. How about Emperor Vlad, who is basically the same field as Renault? It's slightly better, but not enough to matter. So he's just like Renault without any of the damage or utility. That's just who he is.
I want to put him down in D tier, unfortunately, at this point. Like, he does get the fact, there's a few things going for him that, would put him on this tier list. Just compared to Renault, he's in FFB, so he synergizes with Rain. He can get that Dark Leader from Ibarra or Deoxys, either or. The problem is that he wants to be a finisher, and again, dark finishers, he's not a good dark finisher to begin with, and he's better used as a chainer, as kind of like a support unit if you've got the Ayaka card, but that's too many things going for him where it's just not enough. He's slipping very quickly. If it wasn't for the fact that he had the field and support, I would say you can just drop him from this.
The biggest thing I remember looking at Vlad, even after the crowns and after when it was released, was how does this man become emperor of a country? What? This man looks so useless. He does nothing, and he becomes this super feared emperor. I'm like, no, this doesn't make sense. It's taking me out of the immersion.
It is kind of crazy. So how about Kirisame with his crowns? Pretty recent, just came out. With Ace as a leader to kind of prop him up, he can do okay-ish, but he basically needs Ayaka on the party to kind of do anything, really. And then the issue with that is Ayaka is getting nothing from Ace at all, so it doesn't really work. So in reality, he's going to have a 35% amplify. So
sad. So sad. The unit itself is so cool, but it's so sad.
I want to stick him in D tier as well. I don't see a good future for Ice in the immediate future.
I mean, they could suddenly start chunking out a lot of Ice units that could work well with Elena, but even then, I don't think Kirisame is going to be very high on the list to take.
The big issue with him is he is just really limited to needing Ayaka on the party. There is an ice card. Now, do you guys know if that card is locked to Brave Exvius?
So I think there's a 200%. It's either the 200% TDH for attack and magic is locked, or it's the Amplify. And I'm willing to put money on the Amplify being the one that's locked to Brave Exvius, and that would make him good, but again, I think you're right that it is locked. What's the name of that card?
I think Resolute Knight. Or the Silent Knight, something like that, I think.
Resolute Knight, you got it on the first go, and okay, no, he can use the Rolling Amplify. He does lose out on the
500 stats or whatever.
No, the 200 True Dual Wield.
Oh, okay.
For attack and magic. So
now if
you have it,
is that card like a pure magic card or a pure attack card? Or
It's both. It's hybrid. So you get
Oh.
500 flat attack and magic, chain cap up 50%, which is effectively useless. And then
use chains of
130,
protection, or was it chains of strength or whatever?
130 for flat stats. So with that, he could be good.
I guess see, because it's still only 100 instead of 150.
Yeah.
See, but I would like Tifa is a large gap between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tifa
So
brings her own 150, so it's like way big of a difference.
Yeah, and she's also not locked to the card.
Exactly. So I feel like that's enough to put him in D, unfortunately.
Okay. Hawkeye with his crowns, he is a 90 breaker. I think he actually Locke as well. So him and Locke are the only two like trial 90 breakers that you can keep doing it throughout the whole trial. Damage is still terrible. He does have a 160 Dark Amplify, although it is locked to an auto cast, which cannot be refreshed, meaning it's only for turns, I think 4 through 7, something like that. But he is a 90 breaker, and he's an 88 spirit breaker, and that's basically it. Like, he doesn't deal damage. So, just a slightly better version of Lara Croft. So, how should he be ranked?
I completely forgot Lara Croft existed in this game.
I want to put him in B tier. Just because,
Same.
Vilk technically is a 90% breaker that you can keep refreshing. It's just clunky as hell.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, it's not good. And Venera has I think 7 turns of a 90% break. So
12.
12. Oh, my bad. So effectively a trial. He's not bad, and he pairs well with someone who's coming up later, or a couple units that are coming up later in this banner. Just because he has that 90% defense break. Dark, I still feel is stronger on a magic-based team, but the physical side is not lacking either. And 90% breaks aren't valued in Clash of Wills like they are in Dark Vision. So
no, it's not.
This he could be in a lot of places, and he could be in A if it's Dark Visions, or B if it's Clash of Wills. Like Clash of Wills, I feel like he's bringing much less to the table there.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you would generally bring a non Clash breaker into into Clash of Wills fights.
Oh yeah,
So
Clash of Wills because of the passive stats. Like, honestly, the Obsidian Bracer is good enough, and I've used Obsidian Bracer as the only break on the party and gotten rank 1 clears with it. Yeah, it's the Clash. I've said it before. Clash of Wills really does need to do away with the passive stats because it just makes breakers irrelevant. Basically.
Oh man, I'm just picturing you holding up, 2 units, the breaker in one hand and the Obsidian Bracer in the other, saying, "It's just as good, guys. It's just as good."
Well, I mean, it's not as good. They're even with the stats. There is some slight deal. I think it's a 10% difference, but it's not worth a whole party slot in Clash of Wills.
No, that's the worst part. Is you're not wrong, except when your tank's getting slammed by the ginger buff man.
Right, that guy was a nightmare.
Yeah.
All right, so Physalis with her crowns, similar to Kirisame, she doesn't have a 150 amplify, so she's an ice damage dealer that does not even that good of damage. At least Kirisame has Ace to prop him up somewhat. She's got Laswell.
Yep, and the famous tune of Final Fantasy, dee 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 dee.
Yeah, I would say straight to deep for her.
You know what? I don't know if we really want to break this down that much, but I can pretty much say without fail, the next 3 are winding up in D tier.
Yeah.
Pretty much. These crown units, they're good for newer players. They're good in series locked content. If you're going to a type or Final Fantasy 11 fight, you're gonna bring Aphmau, stuff like that. But you're never gonna see Saul and Dark Fina off the bench in a realistic game otherwise.
And those things are really for lack of choice. How many FF 11 units do we have? I think I can count it on one hand. We have 4?
Mm-hmm.
5?
I think we have
5,
like
yeah.
we have
We
like
have 5.
5 and like 3 of
Lion,
them are sweet potatoes.
the NBA Shantotto, the new Lady Shantotto or whatever, Aphmau, and Shadow Lord. If there's another one, I don't know, call me out in the comments or something, but I think that's it. So you've got a party of Final Fantasy 11 units, and guess who makes the cut by default?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Deoxys, the original leader, well, actually he was second. He was after Ibarra. But anyway, the original JP leader for Dark, and just like his leader skill is still overall better than Ibarra's. It's just that he just, Ibarra's really good, and he just stands in her shadow for the most part. So how should he be
way
ranked,
worse.
though?
Probably same tier as Dark Rain, because he's at least on par or better than Dark Rain.
So I mean, realistically, I would still put him S tier, but he would be at the very bottom of it just because, again, Ibarra exists, and the physical side of Dark teams is a little bit less well supported than the Magic side. But potato. He's a high A, low S, because if you need physical Dark, Ibarra is not your go-to anymore.
No.
So there is a niche in which he exists, and I would say that is still the Dark. Physical meta is his. Magic Dark is obviously Ibarra's, but neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm. And Dark Lineage Laswell, the Ice leader, who has one of the worst leader skills in the game among actual leaders. But his personal damage is really good. It's definitely high up there. But he kind of sort of needs Flaring Rain on the party, which is a little awkward because his best damage is locked to, or soft lock to ice, so you'd have to mix ice and fire. The new card coming out will be quite helpful for him on his physical side, but still, he's really, you can't even call him a leader because you're never making him your leader in Dark Visions.
Unless you don't have options. Again, I think A tier for him.
I still don't understand their choice to make his leader skills so bad.
Regina, basically, JP is still terrified of the Regina being a single source of damage for newer players, and so to curb that, they basically undertune anything ice related. That's why we haven't seen any good ice support units. That's why we haven't seen any good, ice damage dealers or ice focused breakers outside of, I guess, Yish would be the best one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I guess why we don't. I mean, it's kind of funny to see as a person who never touched JP, because Regina just has been non-existent on the GL side. Almost.
I think it was because just before he was releasing, some players used Regina in the Dark Visions to get really high, and the JP devs probably freaked out and nerfed Laswell last minute because of that. Is my guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, the problem is I like units like Regina. I think Regina is a very well-designed unit that is great for newer players. But again, Regina nowadays is not going to be exceeded by a whale or a long-time player who has a plethora of gear and units. If you're a new player with only good gear to gear up 1 DPS, Regina's awesome. She's great, and if you can support her with units like Ayaka or that vision card, so much the better. And I think new players should get more units like that kind of give them an option to build a single unit while they're still starting up, and they want to not, I would say, compete in Dark Visions, but get some ranks, get some dark matter, so that they can start to down the line build up their roster of equipment and stuff like that. So you give us Regina. It's not going to make a difference for the players at the very hippie top of it.
Mm-hmm. In Roka Dark Lineage, basically the Earth version of Dark Rain in a sense. She's just a Earth mage finisher. Does decent damage in the element. We do know Earth is getting some support in the near future with like Snovlinka and stuff, but it never really turned out to be meta in JP, and it got bypassed very quickly with all the new leader skill stuff with like 750s. So she never had her moment. I don't think she's like in D tier. I'd say just like C because technically she's good. She just has no place.
Yeah, I think it's similar to kind of the Tifa situation.
Yeah, I mean, Earth is better off in global with Sylvie. Again, like Melissa has 100% Dark Amp, and that's kind of like the party-wide expected value now is 100%, and we still don't have them for all elements. So Sylvie's still in a great spot, and you know, if Earth ever comes back to DV, there's a good chance. Well, not DV, but Clash of Wills or whatever. Not that she'd see use there because her mods are low in that, but it's like if you didn't have another choice, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at this point, Snovlink is not support for Earth. She's more like life support for Earth.
Veritas of the Frost. So, Frost buffer, single target, 100 amplify, has a few stat buffs. Basically just a worse Ayaka that doesn't deal damage. So
I'd say chuck him into D.
I'd say all the way to D, honestly. Just like you're not going to use him really unless you just don't have Ayaka, I guess. And even then, like you're not using in that case, you're not building an ice team.
Yeah, if you've got Veritas of the Frost and Dark Lineage lasts well, re-roll your account. Like, it sounds bad, but really, you couldn't do much worse for like what your favorite element is. But
Mm-hmm.
like, it would have to be a very cold day in hell for anyone with a good variety, even a modest variety of units to pull him out. And just to be clear, like this tier list is not set in stone, and Global does like to shake things up quite a bit. We didn't think that, you know, with Deoxys being the new Dark leader, that Dark would have a place because we knew Rain was coming out, and then Ibarra drops and Melissa drops, and we have two fantastic units that make Dark extremely competitive. So this could all turn on its head and suddenly last well, and Gilgamesh are much higher in the meta than what we were expecting. So this is as it stands right at this moment when the video is recorded. So
I don't think even if a unit like Melissa or Ibarra for Ice came out, Veritas is gonna have any real say in the meta.
Mm-hmm.
he might move up to a C.
Yeah,
might move to a C, but his kit is just so.
You see, the problem is if like a ice version of Melissa came out, like she would replace Veritas's place in the team because like he is the ice buffer. So if a better ice buffer came out, like he is definitely not getting off the bench because his damage is completely non-existent.
Again, like I still feel like C is extremely like out of meta already.
Yeah,
like, but it's niche. So if you have an ice unit, I don't know. Like if it's ice units only and you need something to hit that tag, maybe he makes it onto your team as like number 6 or 5, not like your first pick.
Mm.
So
these are the same unit, right? I think you got a duplicate.
Yeah, I got a dupe here again.
That's fine. We'll just stick these down here. Get them out the way.
They just have such cool sprites, though, man.
They do. They do.
But
Shakira, the Bolt version, so she's basically the Thunder version of Frost. The thing is, she has a field, which makes her a lot more useful on a team. She also has a better element because we've got like Zack, we've got Sylvie, etc. So where's she rank? I guess maybe in C.
Up to C, yeah.
I mean, because she's still not much more than the field for the most part.
She's the field the units. That's all she is.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd only take her because you have Zack, Cloud, and Angio on the team, and you need a Thunder field or something.
Yep.
I really don't like these kind of units where they just copy and paste really garbage kits into different elements, and then slap good sprites on them because it's just so sad. Just
agree.
waste of a spread.
And now Flaring Aether Rain, I think he's probably going to be our first S tier. So, you know, the leader to have for a while. Amazing in Clash. You know, he's still going to be good in Clash even after his leader skill gets crapped because his damage is good as non-elemental. He fills passively a huge amount of morale per turn. Got a great buff in Clash with Grace of Flame, or whatever, Grace of Will, I think it's called actually. And yeah, he's got the 8 times chain cap. He's one of the top damage dealers in the game, in both Clash and Dark Visions. Starting to fall out a little bit just because power creep continuously moves on, but still, I would say he's easily deserves the S tier at the current time.
Yeah, even at this point, if you had to pick one leader, I would still pick him just because that FFB tag is so broad that you can fit so many different types of units, and even if you're just bringing him as a unit for the 500% leader skill, you can still fit him on a non-element whatsoever, use them for a support chainer, and he's still worth that slot. So yeah, even with him sort of falling away from the meta, still extremely strong.
Sounds good. Dark Lineage Fina. Overall, pretty good buffer in JP. Has some heavy competition of like Sylvie, Melissa on global. So probably won't see nearly as much use as you'd see her on a JP. I'm talking about in trial content for the most part. Not so much for Dark Visions because she's a little specialized there. But she does still have, the whole healer support kit. She's got 4 different killers, I believe. All the immunity buffs. She feels LB gauge great. Top tier healer.
I think she deserves an A, personally.
I'd probably say B just because I don't think you're going to see her that often. Like, she's one of those units that sounds better on paper than, like, actual in-game use in reality, but...
Yeah, I would also lean B. A high B, for sure. Like, she's one of the few healers on this tier list, for example. So, like, we're going to be comparing her to a handful of other units that I think are stronger, but still, you could do worse in that niche.
Sounds good.
I guess I'm just thinking because the GL supports are generally almost always S, so it's like A is not that, I feel, a big stretch, but that's, I guess, fine. B's fine.
Okay. Blades of Black Flame Reagan, or as Sean says, Bob F. How should he be ranked? 89 breaker. He's got actually pretty good damage. One of the best damage dealers among the dedicated breakers. That's mostly it. He breaks and deals damage.
Why aren't doll breakers like this?
Exactly. I agree completely.
So he doesn't have 2-stack Mirage, so he's definitely behind Laguna. No, he's a completely fine, serviceable unit. He's good on dark teams or dark physical teams. He does deal less damage, and he's only a finisher if you're doing non-elemental or flexible elemental. I would still put him as an A.
Same.
Just because, yeah, he does good damage. He's a breaker that does more than just provide the breaks.
The only nitpick I have against him is that you can't really take him to Cal, but that's not a nitpick against him. It's just a nitpick against him being a breaker.
Yep. A-Sam was exactly where same place I would place him as well. So it seems good. And how about Saul? So basically, the magic version of him. He
Without the damage.
He does have okay-ish damage. If you've got like Ibarra's leader skill, it's definitely not like meta tier or anything, but it's respectable. It's decent, and he has a field. I should mention, by the way, a dual element field, and that's pretty slot efficient. 89 breaks plus a field on the party, and in peril field.
So here's the other. Okay, I am actually going to argue that he is an S tier breaker currently. And
You think so?
Yeah, I think he's currently S tier. He has 150% to light and dark. He's got a field for dark and ice, which is weird because it's not in the supported elements, but regardless. I also just really think his kit's well designed. His shift form auto casts the focus buff at the beginning of every turn, meaning you're not worrying about him taking excess damage every turn because of focus. You use your focus every turn, it's gone, and then at the beginning of the next turn, while he's shifted, he auto casts it. You also don't have to use your turn casting it. He does have a 150% dark amp, but he also has 100% ice by default, and he can be imbued with anything for his LB. So he's flexible. He's got great support that's going to, I think, way outlast Blades of Black Flame Reagan, and I think his kit's well designed overall. And with light and dark, he is going to be a strong contender, even though he won't get the bonus from, say, Alina. But if you have Alina's leader skill, you can bring not only her, you can bring her, Ibarra, 2B, and A2, and you've got some pretty significant damage with the right imperils.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I would argue about up here is that he's basically almost not ever going to see use in Clash of Wills, so he's exclusively like a Dark Visions breaker. Even in trial content, like he's a little awkward because of the shift form, the trance shift. So in trials, like he definitely has gaps in his support. But what do you think, Pika? You can be like a tiebreaker here.
I personally think he's also A because, like you said, he's not going to be seeing usage outside of Cal, just like Bobby. And like he has I think a really decent kit wise, but like where you're only going to be using it for dark visions like ever.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
it's fair. I will say if he's going to be an A, he's definitely got to be higher than Bob. Like, yeah, he's a high A in my opinion.
Are you sure that's not just your personal slight against Bob? Your biases talking?
I mean, I took them to the Vision World, and there's video proof that he outdamaged Bob. I mean, granted, you know, he's got an extra 250% magic, but he cooked him in the damage delta. It was like 2 billion difference.
Okay.
So you be the judge.
That seems fine. A tier seems good. So, Red Mage Ingus with his crowns. He's an 89 Spirit Breaker, 88 Defense Breaker. He has fields to 4 different elements for imperils. I think field plus his SLB, or his LB. It's actually an LB. I think it's, 180 imperil grand total, I think, by memory.
Yeah. I think that's right, or it's 175, but not big enough to be splitting hairs over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think he just goes into Laguna tier, doesn't he?
I would say so, yeah. Just, the specialized breakers that aren't going to be universal because they don't have the 8 and out. Actually, he does, but, it's just like there's sometimes a better option. So for him, it would be Cater.
Which does not exist.
Yeah, but, I would say B tier is fine. Like, he's just good technically, but you're just probably realistically not going to see him very often in top teams.
Yeah, Hiroki's not doing a very good job of catering to our needs.
Oh no! Oh no!
That was good. I like that. All right, youthful hero Zack, who, I mean, we can't really ding him for Riku being killed. Doesn't really affect him specifically, but Riku being just destroyed really did hinder his primary global use. Because, like, you're not going to build a pure lightning team on global. That just doesn't really exist. And when the options to build a fully fleshed out lightning team do arrive with the new lightning, she's going to be the leader instead. So, yeah, how should he be ranked?
So there's a narrow window for him here. Final Fantasy VII teams with himself, Cloud Strife, and the next unit. It's a pretty strong, like, 3-man band right there. So, I mean, what you want to fill it out with as far as lightning units after that, TBD, but it's not awful. And, again, I feel like he's a victim of the meta shakeup, where he might have been stronger in JP for the time. He'll probably see it like limited use when Lightning comes to town. I don't know if he falls within her Rebellion tag or if it's Rebellion and Lightning.
I don't think he does. Cloud does, but not Zack, I think.
Yeah. So
I could be wrong.
Want to say he's A tier because his damage, as I understand it, isn't bad either. So.
By the way, Sean, your microphone got really quiet.
Yeah, sorry, I adjusted there. 1 second.
There it is. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so what were we saying? A tier?
It just kind of feels a little bad putting him in the same tier as Deoxys, because Deoxys is actually in the actual meta element.
That is true. That is true, because these leaders have, well, I guess last one doesn't either, but yeah, that's true. That's true, because like you're really just not going to build a dedicated Thunder team, and it seems like the Dragon Quest collaboration was skipped, so some of the big Thunder units like Arus are just apparently not coming, or if they do come, they're already very late. So, yeah.
So here's a question then. If we're saying that he's dead in the water, how do we feel about Laswell? Is Laswell just being propped up there by his personal contribution to damage? Because I feel like Zack is on the same page then.
Isn't Laswell's personal damage quite higher?
It is, but the problem is if you're using Laswell on a rain team, you are splitting his amplifies, or you're missing 20% because you're going with his magic side, which cannot be imbued. So, yes, but not after you start splitting the elements. So, whoops. Oh my god. Whatever. So yeah, that makes sense. So Zack could be fine on a as just a damage dealer. But the issue once again though is like on what team? His own team that you're not going to run, on the Lightning team where he's not getting a leader skill.
If you got a Zack on an off banner, would you be mad about it? Like, how mad would you be? Would you say he's an A tier off banner?
I would say that only for the card, not for the unit. Like, he would go directly into the Shard dungeon, but he would probably never actually make it onto a team. Like, I've had it in JP, EX2 for five months or whatever, and the times I've used him are zero. Literally zero. Other than, like, once on a series locked fight or something.
Feels bad, man.
Yeah, it's just like Thunder just doesn't have it, and once he does, I'm gonna check right now. So real quick, Youthful Hero Zack and JP. Does he have the Rebellion tag? He does not. So yes, he absolutely cannot go onto a Rebel Lightning team. So
big ouch.
I would say B because
I would say B too. It just hurts. He's one of my favorite characters, but tragic.
Yep. Angio, who is the Lightning version of Laguna, etc. So I guess just the same category.
Yeah,
he's a tag chainer, which is a little bit of a utility. So not a bad unit, I guess. But he's very much in the same boat.
He kind of, if he wants to deal any damage, it kind of relies on having Bob F's STMR, doesn't he?
Pretty much, yeah. But even then, like it's still absolutely
bad,
garbage tier. It's like the same as Laguna. It's bad. Genesis, who is one of the top damage dealers in the game.
Slap him in S.
What was that?
No debate.
Yeah, he has a niche of stupid high fire damage. The only thing he has going against him is if you don't have Dazzling Demoness, it's going to be not nearly as impressive. But he's been consistently able to cap the damage cap in Clash of Wills, or not Clash of Wills, but
Clash of Wills too.
Dark Visions. And I mean, yeah, he's great as a first turn KO in Clash of Wills where fire applies, which has been the Clash of Wills element in general, especially around the time of his release. So S tier.
But no, I was actually saying he pulls his own weight as a Clash of Wills damage dealer. Like even though he doesn't have morale scaling, the damage is just so high. Like he competes with units like Rain in Clash of Wills.
I think he does more than every single unit in the game, including Cal, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when
Yeah,
fireworks, but yeah, he is.
when fireworks. Even I think even from remembering your sheets, even with the calc based on 750 uh leader skills, I think he still did more. If
Mm-hmm.
you had to, he just does FU damage. That's what he is.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's damage, plain and simple. There's a couple drawbacks with him though. His gearing is not great if you are not hitting the killers that he already actively supports. If you don't have Dazzling Demoness, the card, his damage is not quite as impressive. It's still great. So there are a couple of pitfalls there if you don't have that equipment, and you're fighting a boss that's off race for him.
Now,
But yeah, it's very the smallest gripe I could have, I think.
and I will actually say a perk for him. It's not here yet, but when it does arrive, the item world update that they announced in the stream makes his gearing easier because that will unlock rare abilities on weapons, meaning you can get the whip rare on his sword. So you can get up to 75% MP on your item world
Oh,
weapon, which
wait,
is
wait, wait. Can you only have one rare though?
no, you can stack them.
So
We can only have one of the same, but you can have like, the bow, the gun, the whip on the same weapon, etc. But
you can hit the whip, the rod, or and the like 20% MP.
oh,
So
I forgot the rod too. Yes, so you could
yeah,
do
you can hit
whip,
80.
rod, and then the global 20. So 80%. Absolutely, yeah, and that'll make this gearing a lot easier than it currently is.
Oh, thank Christ for that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess he's a good unit that's strong and only getting stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
Nice.
I think Genesis's kit is surprisingly well thought out for a JP unit.
Again, they don't always have these wins, but when they do, they're nice. Like
Yeah.
Genesis kid is good, and I mean he doesn't dominate all the metas because he's firelocked. So
Hmm.
Sounds good. And Squall, the light leader who got a global buff, he's a 600% light leader. And we do know light is getting some more power with Richt very soon. Richt will not be your leader in Clash of Wills. I'm sorry, it will not be in Dark Visions. But Squall has a pretty good damage. The light team is mostly cohesive. It's missing some good stuff like field supports, but overall it's pretty good. So how do you guys feel about Squall? Where should he be ranked?
I feel like he's A tier. Um, he's like the amount of light. Or sorry, actually, I changed my mind. I think he's in S tier. He's flexible, so even if you're not using him as a light damage dealer, he can still fit on a team, and he does good damage. The light units available are pretty meta right now, and 2B is only getting stronger. A2 is coming back as well. Knights of Grandchild is a good, second string pick. We'll have to see what Licht looks like, or Richt, God. Um, yeah, I think Light's in a really good place in the meta, and outside of Clash of Wills, he's going to be your Dark Visions leader. And having 600 instead of 500, every little bit counts. And yeah, I don't think there's much else to say there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd also put him to SC because he's very flexible as a unit, right? His LB is also non-elemental, and I think one of the only non-elemental leaders with plus
Mm-hmm.
500% leader skill,
600?
right? Yeah,
Yep.
plus 500%. I mean, like including
Oh,
like
500 plus, yeah.
yeah, 500. Yeah, 500 plus. So
It's pretty
so
good.
I think he should be S.
Okay. And quizzes. I just got done saying that there's no real good field support for light, and then there's Quistis, but that I still feel like that's
She's not
true.
good.
Yeah, like she is so bad. Like I'd almost put her in D tier just because she's that bad. Uh, what do you guys think? Like, does she deserve to go above D? Is she ever going to go on a party?
I have no qualms about her being D.
her damage is just so low.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the unit. I like looked at the unit briefly when it came out. I'm like, this is not good. Like, this is just bad. Their mods are low. Even the field is underwhelming at best. Like, compared to units like, say, we could always hope for a Lena situation where she gets crowns that make her amazing. But, hoping with Gumi is yeah. Hoping with Gumi is not a good place to be as far as what you want out of a unit.
All right, D tier sounds good. Now, Irving, a very weird unit. So he, with an unusual gearing, can do the true dual wield build. It's very tricky to gear. But with that, with Squall's leader skill, and with an extremely long chain, he can technically deal good damage. That said, his Amplify is for water. So if you're not doing a water team, which you're not doing a water team, he does need external amplifies. So, like a huge headache of a unit with high potential. So how should he be ranked?
So at the beginning of the video, I said that, the B tier is for units that perform very well but are currently off meta. And I think that's where he lands, is because he's not designed around how you would build him to squeeze, the maximum potential out. He's unintuitive, he's clunky, he needs a long chain, he needs external element support, but the numbers are there,
Mm-hmm.
This is the Obsidian Bracer, versus a Breaker unit. It's just as good.
I feel like Irving is going to be the first unit so far on this list where the comments start getting riled up and be like, "What?" But I agree. I agree with exactly what you said. Like, it's just he's awkward and like
and this could shift. Like, if we get like a Mystic Breath tag chainer that supports the water element with 110 or 125 group amplify, he could shoot to an S tier.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, it's.
And even if we do get that, we would still need Squall to be the leader for the party, and Squall is only going to be buffing probably these two, not the other water elements you'd be bringing. Like, yeah, awkward. Awkward is the name of the day for Irving.
Hey, like we said, we could hope they can make a competent water leader, but hoping for Gumi is not a good place to be.
Oh, geez, yeah. I know.
Milk updates for anniversary, anyone?
So disappointing. Lady Shantotto, who is just the dark version of Dark Lineage Roka, but dark has way more support, so I'd say B.
Probably fair.
Mm-hmm.
That was easy. Lion, who is the 89 breaker for light. Again, just with the other breakers. Not super great, but does the job.
Ooh, here comes a fun unit.
Okay. So, I forget his name. The new ace. 750 leader skill for a very specialized category. Does high personal damage. He is light element as well, so he could go on a Squall team as just a damage dealer and carry his own weight because his damage is very high. How should he be ranked?
S, probably.
I would say so, because he is also actually non-elemental as well, so you can go any element with him, same as Squall you can. So he is imbuable.
I feel like his leader skill is just too, like, I know, like, the new unit, like, the new units are going to be, like, or not Elena because she's spirit based, but Richt might enjoy his leader skill, but I feel like I want to put him in A tier just because otherwise, like, who are you using with his leader skill?
Bart is really good as well under his leader skill. Bart's
wind support anyone?
Bart's is good even if you're going like light or what is it? Light, fire, and lightning. Bart's can do as well at very high damage with Ace's leader skill.
I don't remember his 3 elements, but he had 3 elements, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the main thing is Bart does have light in his kit, so Bart can go to light team, and it won't be quite as high as the wind, but it's still definitely worth the party slot.
Okay, so
I think yeah.
I just felt like there's maybe a little bit too much in the air to rate Ace as an S. Like depending on how the like Richt show settles, I think he might drop faster than the other units. But you're probably right that there is going to be a case for using him, and he is probably S tier.
It feels very wrong to put him in the same tier as Cog and Deoxys and Dark Rain.
Yeah, even then he's outperforming them as a light magic damage dealer. He's top of the pack. So yeah,
he's top of the
right.
pack. It just feels wrong to put him in the same tier there.
Yeah.
Okay. Trey, who is basically just a wind damage dealer, does qualify for Ace's leader skill. Also, wind does have a little bit of use as like a dedicated team coming up with Zidane and some other units. So still not great. Just a damage dealer, no utility at all. So like B or C, I guess. But then again, we've got Cog in A, so.
Yeah, but Light's a well-supported unit, and he was able to crank out similar numbers to 2B and Squall. So
that is true. So maybe B.
I think B, just for the fact that he qualifies under Ace's leader skill.
Okay, and also
in a vacuum, he's a C. In a vacuum, he's a C. In a vacuum,
he'd be the same as Tifa, but he has one perk going for him that he has a competent leader, unlike Tifa, and Roka.
Yeah,
I put him in B.
He could go in either, in my opinion. So yeah, B's fine.
Okay, and then Deuce. Buffer, she does have the Blessing of the Crystals tag. She's got like 7 fields in her kit. Not great damage. Honestly, it's about on Quistis tier. So, like, are you really going to bring Deuce just for her fields and mediocre damage? I would say probably not, but I don't know. I would say like B or C at the best.
I would say C. Like, she does have killer support. She's got fields. Like, there is a time where maybe if you're a newer player, you don't have access to some of those like other units that provide those, or you need the compression of having it on one unit. It's super niche, but there might be a spot for her in a specific team. So
also, if you're new, she just provides 7 different element fields, right?
No. It's 4 different element fields. The on one field, and then the second field is a 100% limit burst damage buff, and then the other one is an attack, magic, defense, and spirit 100% area buff. So
this is how much I looked into Deuce. Deuce was
I mean, I like the idea behind it. It's just the numbers are too low. Like the limit burst is the same as Esther, and while it's not as clunky, it's not.
Yeah, but Esther's is a enemy field too, so it's so weird.
Yeah, and again, like the stat buff of like 100% is just too low. I mean, it's nice if you gotta like wait out some turns and just take attacks, but it's way too niche to consider.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Elazul was crowned and global upgraded, but Elazul is a very flawed unit. So where should we put Elazul? Which tier? I would say D tier, honestly.
Yeah, mm-hmm. You're not using him unless you need a specific win team, and you have him, which is unlikely. His STMR does not mesh with his kit. It's great for units like Dwayne, but he's like FFB. He is a unit created without thought.
His STMR is best in slot for Dwayne, isn't it?
Yes. It is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only purpose for him.
Pretty much.
He's a TMR holder of a unit.
And Pearl, again, got some global upgrades. Dark physical unit only has 100 amplify. Does damage, kind of it. Would she make the cut on a dark team, which is probably the biggest selection of units to come to a team? I would say unlikely, assuming,
Very unlikely for Mage, right? Oh no, she's physical.
physical.
So I actually really like Pearl's kit. Since the changes, she's only got 2 turns in her base form, which is, not great, but if you want her to line up with, say, Deoxys, she can shift for 4 turns in her shift form, so they're both tranced for the same amount of time, and then you can just pull her out of the fight entirely. Like, I don't think she's bad. I would certainly take Bob F over her, but her mods are pretty decent. The fact that she doesn't have 150, but she does have a recastable 100% means that her sustain is higher. So if you're bringing her for a trial, she's good. I would put her in B tier, just because better options exist. But if you have her and you have Deoxys, it's not a bad pair.
Okay.
She probably deserves to be the same tier as at least Lady Shantotto.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Shiloh is his name, I believe.
Shiloh
Shiloh.
LaBeouf.
Okay.
Actual cannibal Shiloh LaBeouf.
So, fire physical damage dealer brings a field as well, and that's it. But he's good. He's good at what he does.
Damage. Yep.
So,
I'd
because
say
he has
slap
the
him an A.
field, I'd say A.
Yeah, I'd say A too. I was really tempted to go for him, but I stopped myself.
Yeah, I really wanted to use tickets on him because my best Dark Visions team is fire, and he would absolutely make the cut on my team. But I just ended up not doing it. But I wanted
Not to
them.
mention, they give 100 fragments in the shop, so that's an easy trip to EX2. Even if you get one, you throw them in the shard dungeon for 15 days, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get them at that point.
The field is what pushes him up. And look at me saying earlier that light has no field. Here's another light field unit. But I would say same thing. She's just the light version on Squall's team.
And again, I feel like light is going to make a big swing and start replacing the fire teams. I would rate her personally higher than Shiloh, but again, your mileage may vary. They're neck and neck.
But for the most part, these tiers aren't really sorted among themselves.
No.
Also, I think the question of the light maybe becoming big is a
Rick.
huge asterisk because of Rick is a huge unknown, and Rick might pull a Wilk, and we don't know. He's another German named male FFB Glex unit that could be really good on release and then disappears the next week.
Oh no!
I've seen this happen
before. The signs
before.
are all there. I wasn't looking for them, but
The signs are there, and he releases with a female support unit with a more fleshed out kit. The signs are all there.
I don't like what you're saying. Don't like it. I would like you to stop.
And now the remainder, some global exclusive units. So, Curse of Immunity, Melissa.
S tier.
I mean,
Do it now.
And she's definitely amazing. One of the best Clash of Wills units for support. I honestly feel like she power crept Sylvie in Clash of Wills just because she single-handedly deals with the morale issues. Even good outside of Clash as a dark buffer for Dark Visions. Just
Makes A2 more usable. Just outstanding kit. The last Clash of Wills have heavily leaned into her with her providing either Human Beast or what's the Dragon? Well, Dragon. Human and Beast has been heavily favored since her release, and the mitigation she provides is excellent. Seconds of Support is an amazing ability despite not being available on turn 1. Just does so much. It's almost like you wish you had more. Like you wish you had more than a triple cast.
excellent unit.
Yeah, I don't think my my icon kind of gave away how I felt about this unit.
So Ibarra, I would say again, she's just a great damage dealer in Clash and pretty good in Dark Visions. She's got a decent
God
support
tier
kit.
in Trials.
Hmm?
He's God tier in Trials.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. She's probably the best trial unit in the game just because not the highest damage in trials, but the most consistent and repeatable damage in trials. Like, you can just fill her LB gauge every turn, and she just goes to town. Amazing.
LB go burr. That's the unit.
Yeah, LB, and that's the other great thing is like if you want to set her up as a chainer, she can LB chain every turn. If you want her to finish, it's even better. And like support for 8 killers at 250%, 40% katana and peril, bruh. Like
she's real
kit's
good.
Kit's stupid overloaded. And then she's got 200% human demon killer for the party, bruh. Like who we're taking to the next Clash of Wills.
And we know who we're taking for the next Grace of Trials.
Well, yeah, it's gonna be Ricked, but shut up, don't say it. Shut up, not hearing it.
So Dwayne, this one, like, I really like Dwayne, and I think he's great, but a lot of people are not on the same page with me about him. So how do you two feel about Dwayne? Is he like an S tier unit, or is he more of like an A tier along with like Shiloh and stuff? How do you guys feel?
So, the way I feel about it is if you look at the tier list right now, look at the top 2, and we've got Rain and Genesis. Rain has a better leader skill. Genesis does more damage. Rain does more damage. So I think based on that, he falls into A tier, but he's still really good. And I think the only thing holding him back at this point is the fact that you got to wait 3 to 5 turns for his damage to really get going.
Yeah, it makes sense because in Dark Visions he's nothing special. Like, he's respectable, but not the top. And honestly, probably won't even make the cut if you've got all options at this point. So A tier seems fine to me, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean the only other option there is like in Dark Visions, you might still bring him if you can't have a chainer on the kill turn and you need someone to tag chain.
True.
Yeah, so. I agree with him. I don't think it's a good idea. It looks good to put Dwayne in the same tier with Genesis and Rain.
Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, Nora.
Oh my god.
She's a little hard to rate because her personal damage is a little worse than Dwayne. But she does have a little bit of support in her kit, but she's got fields as well, although they're in peril fields, so they're very specialized. But she has the modifier buff, which is an AoE modifier buff for the whole party, and that can be really strong depending on the party you're using. So like it double dips on things like 2B, it quadruple dips on Oliveira, although you're not using him. It's just real nice.
With that attitude.
It's just like, depending on your party, like that can push her overall damage contribution much higher than her personal contribution.
Yeah, I mean, she's gonna be.
I think she's gonna age better than Dwayne because Dwayne's kit primarily relies on damage, but she's got a lot of good support, and again can push others higher.
Yeah.
I feel like if you revisited this in like 3 months, Dwayne will probably be sitting at C tier just for the fact that he has tag chains, breaks, and can work in Clash of Wills still, whereas Nora will probably be sitting either in A or B tier because she might still be pushing up others' damage by that much, or she just might have the support you need during specific fights.
The one thing that I really don't like about Nora is that she represents a trauma from Tiana, or I pulled for Tiana because of that cow where she had the 5 element thing going on, and without her it was a pain in the ass. And then Nora came around and she had that 200% accuracy buff for that cow, and then I'm just scared that's probably just gonna disappear now. That 200% accuracy buff, it's just gonna be useless part of her kit that was just used for one cow to tell her.
It feels so bad, but you're probably right.
Well, just wait until down the line they release some trial and she becomes literally just a support unit that buffs LBs because everyone's got her at EX3 and provides a 200% accuracy buff, and then the rest of the time she's just using stuff to fill morale.
Although I will say the accuracy buff is locked to Clash only.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like it'll hit down the road and people will be like, "Oh yeah, Nora does that."
Mm-hmm.
Sinzar's like, "Hey guys, we're making a budget guide using Nora."
Well, I do have her on my initial team for the Clash coming this Thursday, so we'll have to see if she, was a one-hit wonder or if she's going to still continue to be valuable the next month. Because they actually took away her elements like immediately. There's no fire or lightning on the next Clash, which is very unusual. They usually don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, historically though, fire's been way oversaturating Clash of Wills, so it's really fine. Thunder, I hope, makes a comeback at some point. Probably will around the time, maybe Radiant Light, or not Radiant Lightning, but whatever
Rebel
new
Lightning.
Rebel Lightning. Gosh, so many different lightnings. So yeah, again, disclaimer: this whole thing is probably going to shift on its head based on what Global decides to release in Clash of Wills over the next couple of months, or any weird collabs.
Probably shifts after tomorrow's data mine, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's Brave Exvius, baby.
All right, so that basically wraps up this update for the tier list. We usually like to try to do these every 3-ish months when possible. Sometimes, more time may pass, but we try to do it every now and then. But thank you again for Sean and Pika for joining me to do the update.
Thank you for indulging me.
Yeah, likewise. Are you guys happy with how everything shook out for these units? Like, is there any outliers where you think, hey, maybe you shouldn't be in that tier before we close?
Just briefly looking at it, I almost feel like the B and C tier could be consolidated for the most part. But
yeah, I was expecting more units in C tier, honestly, but I guess maybe next time we just have to take it down to SABC or
SABF.
SAB dumpster.
Yeah.
But overall, just looking at the list, it looks pretty good to me. I guess the only questionable one is Irving, but we kind of discussed why we put him there. It's just like, there are going to be every now and then this fight comes along where Irving just works, and people are wondering why the unit on every single top team is rated B. But other than that, it looks good.
Just remember, he can't be on the top team if you didn't pull him. So.
And I don't think it's going to be another Carton situation for Centaur for Irvine, because Carton actually had a really strong niche at the time of being a turn 1 clear unit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can find a way to fill his LB every turn, he's still in a really strong niche of dark damage doesn't matter.
All right, well, I guess that'll be it. Thanks again for joining. See you guys for the new stuff this coming week. Later.
Happy anniversary, everyone.